Oh. So we have 30 long, long minutes. As you know, this is the last class. Some of you will do well, some of you will do better. Just be okay with the grade you get. You'll be fine. Is it anyone important? No one, huh? Anyone with anything? I'm sorry? My father gave it to me. I'm from Iran. To survive, you have to lie and cheat and steal. In America, we call it Photoshop. This is before AI. Can I tell you a story? We came here with F1 visa, and for that to remain in a legal status, you have to take at least 12 units. You have to be in school, and you can't work. I don't know who made that law. They just have to go to school but not work and somehow survive. So there came a point where you had to work. And I remember working at Castilian. It was a dormitory in Davis. And I didn't have a social security. I had no idea what it was. So the company issued me one, 0000000. And I worked without pay for about a year and a half until they gave me a check. $700. And so once in a while we would go to the immigration office because by then the amnesty program came about. It was, I think, set up by Ronald Reagan, that if you can show the government that you have done things illegally, we'll give you a green card. Just think about that. You know, if you worked without a work permit, if you didn't go to school. So it wasn't a difficult thing for us. My brother and I went to our old bosses, asked them to write us letters about all the illegal things we had done. So one day, my brother and I go to the immigration office, and by this time, my brother was working somewhere. They had given us these temporary work permits because of the amnesty program. And so their entire computer system shuts down. The office in Sacramento, the entire system shuts down. My brother goes to one of the officers and says, you know, I have my master's in computer science. Maybe I can help you guys. Now, him and I were going to the office for, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 years, you know, once at least every month. And he had to wake up at 3 in the morning. And the officer says, I'll be right back. So she goes and talks to her superior. You know, this big guy comes forth and says, you know what to do with computers? Yes, I do. So he goes back and he fixes the system. And the guy looks at him and says, so why are you here? Well, you know, because of ABCD. Within 5 minutes, he gets his green card.
You get yours too?
No, I had to wait another 20 years. For some strange reason, my case got lost. And when 9/11, in fact, happened, I was cuffed. I was in Sacramento, and I was taken to the basement until I had to show them documents. You guys didn't know that, you know, underneath every INS office, there is a prison. Yeah. Yeah, Sam. So, yeah. Photoshop. It saved the life of many immigrants. Anyone else before we go home? Alexis? Kenny? Kendra? Faith? You know, your mom has you and you come out, and that's the first body that you see, you touch, you hear, you feel. And she's there every single day. And every time you cry, she comes to you. Every time you're in pain, she comes to you. And something about you kind of understands that should anything happen to you, should any discomfort befalls you, all you have to do is just make some sound. And there is a stranger who will run to you. You have faith. There comes a point where you're no longer really satisfied with just food of the belly. You want to walk, but every time you try, you fall. And I suppose you scream, you cry, and your mom says, "Wait, I'll be right there." Let's just say you understand language by this time. And something about your faith in her cracks. And now faith comes with a good amount of patience. You have to be patient. And it's not something that happens naturally. You have to learn it. It's not intuitive. Unless you happen to be just very spoiled, then she'll probably smack you. Hello. Let's say fast forward, you're now 15, you go to school, you like a boy, you fall in love with the boy, and you tell your mom everything. And it's because you know that she doesn't judge you, that she loves you. She'll try to give you the best advice possible. But she also begins to see that you're slowly disappearing, that this guy is no good for you. And she tries to warn you. And at some point, she just loses her patience with you and she kind of punishes you. And for the first time, there is a break in your relationship. That you realize this is not a woman you can trust. This is not a woman in whom you can have faith, because she doesn't really understand you, what you're going through, how you feel about this particular fellow. Or let's say the opposite, that your life has been going okay for a long time, but then you get to be, 35, 40, you're married, your life is good, you have a great job, but you're going through your midlife crisis, whatever the hell that may mean, that you're beginning to ask some difficult questions from your husband, from your kids, from your parents, but no one can answer you. And it's something that Freud had talked about, that you had imagined that your parents were your heroes until you realize, well, they have many flaws. You imagine that your husband and your wife or this or that, they were your heroes, but they too have many flaws. You had faith in your body that it's never going to betray you, but you realize it too has flaws. And so at every corner, life has a tendency of beating this faith out of you. And then out of desperation, I suppose, And remember, you can't have faith in anything if you don't know it. And by knowing it, I don't mean that you understand it. I mean that from the moment you're born, you see your parents praying, reading the Bible. It becomes part of who and what you are. You have faith in the book. You have faith in the church. You have faith in the belief system. That protects you until something devastating happens, where your faith becomes tested by the realities of life. And then it cracks. Then you lose your faith. Whether or not you gain it back, who knows? But if it has been part of your foundation, the truth is you'll just lose it temporarily. It'll eventually come back to you. But when it comes back to you, you'll approach it differently. It's kind of like, who the hell imagined that? None of us in our family fathomed that I'd go through this particular dilemma, and all of a sudden you begin to lose your faith in the way you eat things, in the way you're stressed about various things in life, taking certain things seriously when in fact you shouldn't have. And so you kind of begin to approach things in a very, very different way. I think faith is good as long as it's not tested. And the only way you can have faith, again, remember, it's a relationship. Time, space, fantasies, and then it gets tested. And then it falls apart. It's like you sit in your room and you just read meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And you think yourself to be a great Stoic. And that's how you've lived your life, in a cave, solitary. You've always had power. Then you get into a relationship where you have children. And you realize you really are not very patient at all. You scream all the time. You're biased, you're prejudiced, you're egocentric. You're really not a Stoic at all. You're Stoic in mind, but not in life. There is a passage in the Quran where some human being turns to God and says, please, don't ever test us, because we'll fail. And it's very true. Marx had faith. He believed that human beings at their very core are noble. Sigmund Freud also had faith that at the very core human beings are evil. And if you were to put them on the scale, or Plato, or Jesus Christ, they wouldn't stand a chance, because what history has revealed is Freud, for the most part, is right. There are these dark parts to us that overcome and overpower everything that's good and noble. I suppose you should be a little bit of Marx and a little bit of Freud. Yeah. Well, sociopaths aside, I have this desire, I've had it for a long time, that if there is a potion out there that'll make me invisible, like the Invisible Man movie, that I will go to Washington in an invisible way, and I will hurt some people who do people wrong. DC, yeah. Politicians. Would that categorize me as a malicious man? Absolutely. Is it for the right reasons? For me, I think it is. Someone who doesn't pay his taxes gets caught by the system and is sentenced to 2-3 years in prison, or maybe is fined $100,000 or so. Then you get someone like Trump. It makes no sense. Someone gets a DUI and they serve time. You have Matt Gates, who's got a rich father, nothing happens to him. And the truth is, you need an invisible man who can somehow go and hurt these people, to make them a bit more human. The idea of turning the other cheek over and over and over again until someone like Jim Jordan learns a few things, by then the entire human race will be demolished. We don't have time to wait that long. So I could probably, a more, I suppose, evolved response to your question would be, people have a past, they don't know that past. People, as Freud would say, also have this dark side to them that no one can tap into and understand. So out of this dark place, all these awful things come out. So you should understand. You should be like a therapist. Imagine that you have enough insight that after 5 years, your patient will go away enlightened. And this is, a bias on my part because I'm a bit older. Tried a few things. I've had, my entire life has been with students for the most part. I would say the following. If you have someone in your life who's mean-spirited, just get rid of it. Walk away. Don't try to be a Jesus Christ. Don't be a Messiah. If there is something wrong with you and you enjoy being around people who are broken in the wrong ways, if you break them, good for you. If you break them for the right reasons and the right purpose and you have the tools to kind of sustain that and protect them. If on the other hand, I come to you saying I'm recovering from my ex, and you say, oh, well, talk to me, and then you fall in love with me. You didn't break me. I'm not in love with you for you to fix. I'm in love with another human being. Don't play the therapist. Invest your time and appreciate the time and appreciate the youth. Invest that in the right things. Yeah. If I'm your father, that's a different story. You have no choice but to just stick around and suffer the consequences.
I agree that you can't like just try to help everyone. But if someone's specifically come to you for help, does that change something?
I can fix your flat tire. If you tell me, Amir, my car is broke. If you tell me, well, the brake is bad, I don't know what to do with that. So, okay, fine, I can't help you with that. If you know what you're good at and you know what areas of life you suck in, then you're not going to take on things that you don't have the tools for. If you tell me I need to understand Plato, that's a problem. I can probably help you. Chris can probably do a much better job. If you tell me I got some father issues, I can't help that. Because it requires time, and I'm not going to give it to you. It's not because I don't like you. Just I like myself a little better. That's all. Am I selfish? Yeah. Am I selfish for the right reasons? Absolutely, man. I'm 61. What the fuck do you want from me? Forgive me. Yeah. And then you're the same way. You're the same way. I mean, that's why when you come to my office and say, what kind of an essay can I write that'll earn me an A? Well, I can't help you with that. I can't push you to become all of a sudden more mature than you've been for the past 10 years. You're right, but you're right. That's it. Let's go. Jesus? You just woke up? It's okay. Chris, what do you think? Do you guys have any questions for Chris? You know he's going to Princeton, right?
Well, I have one question. Will you be assisting in your religion?
Chris? Oh yeah, he'll be teaching it.
Oh, he's going to.
Yeah, we're going to team teach the class.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really good. Well, since you came in late, maybe. Yeah, Eric. No, nothing.
Why bother?
You know, when you're young, you look at your father, for example, and it's after you've kind of lost your faith in your father, he's no longer your hero. You become a bit more aware, you're a bit more embodied. You realize, well, he comes home and sits back and watches TV most often, he just veges out. And then, as most kids do, sometimes you sit back and you look at your father, your mother, and you say, so you do all this work and in the end, this is what you get? Why bother? That's one way you get to the why bother. The other is, there is something about your temperament, and it's not something you chose. You kind of always look at life as half empty. And temperamentally, you always ask, why? So what? That's a temperamental issue that, again, no one can do anything about. Maybe you can just read some self-help books or go on medication and maybe slightly change your perspective about things. Some had some self-confidence, life beats them up, and there are many things in life that come together to beat you up. And then you get sad and depressed. Some of it is because of being alone, some of it is addiction to various things, and slowly you get depressed. And out of depression, the problem with depression is that it sucks the meaning out of everything. Like our friend here, has a journal. And once in a while you want to open up and write a few things and you say, why bother? I've had like 20 of these journals. In the end, it does what? Nothing. Sometimes it comes with a good amount of awareness, but it's too much to bear. Sometimes the why bother is you have lived to be 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. You've gone through a few things in life. You rode your bicycle, you got your license, you got your degrees in school, you got married, you got children, you have a job, you have some money, you have a couple of houses, some cars. And then you sit back after having lived a relatively full life, you say, really? You look yourself now in the mirror and you're all wrinkled up. And then you say, why bother? And I think it comes to all of us at different stages for different reasons. I just hope that if it comes to you, hopefully it's temperamental and you happen to be an artist, that why bother can be a conduit to some creative work. I hope it doesn't come to you because you've gone through various things in life and now you're depressed. And I hope that your life is going to be profoundly busy with a good amount of healthy distractions until you're like 70. And then you sit back and then you say, why bother? But it's a great question. And I think it's one of those questions that gave rise to just human reflection. You write this essay, why bother? For a grade. But to turn out like Amir Sabzavari? Hell no, why bother? It's good to ask late in life.
Well, why get married? Why mom?
Well, it's true. It's true.
I actually got rhetorical.
You know, you can ask questions from a place of helplessness, weakness, or you can ask questions from a place of power. You know, I'm married, so there are moments, many moments I can ask, why bother? And we can have a great conversation, Armand. But then I get sick. And then I'm in bed. And I don't have the energy to make food. And I need some help getting out of bed. So if someone asks me why get married, soup. That's why you get married.
Well,
Someone helping you. Go ahead.
oh, the follow-up on it. Am I married?
I'm sorry?
Am I married?
Are you married?
Am I married?
Are you asking me if I
Yes, I'm
know
asking.
if you're married?
Yeah.
If by marriage you mean being in a relationship with another human being, I certainly hope so. And it's not because I think marriage is one of those wonderful things that people do. Some people get very lucky. It's like Michael Jordan. Some people are just born to be a great basketball player, and some people are born to just have a great marriage. It's one of those things, you know? I mean, the word happy comes from the word hap, which means luck. Some people just get lucky and have a great marriage, you know? There is, besides the romantic definition of marriage, there is a pragmatic, practical side to marriage. It's good to have a companion. I mean, if your companion is a dog, fine. But it's good to have a living, quacking human being in your life. And hopefully, you know, you guys have lived long enough together where you go to a coffee shop and you don't need to have a conversation with her. There was a place in San Francisco, it's closed now, it was called Luis's. It was by the ocean, somewhat expensive. And I remember one day this old couple, you know, they come in and yeah, they're like in their 80s or 90s or 100s. And this woman is holding on very tightly to this man who's walking with a cane. And you would think it's because they're in love. Well, the truth is, if the woman was to let go of the man, she would probably fall. So she uses the man as a crutch, as the man uses a cane as a crutch. So they go, you know, they sit in a booth. And immediately as they sit, she picks up a paper and reads the news. And he just like mumbling away, whispering to himself. And of course, when you're young, you don't appreciate this. You say, oh, when I get into a relationship, I'm going to have great conversation with my companion. But you never think that it took them like 50 years to be okay with not talking to one another, not even looking at each other. But the fact that they just have someone to look at, to fight with, it's great.
So do you have a son?
Yeah.
Well, so you know the direction is different. From father to son and son to father, there's two different directions.
I just think that parents have a miserable time raising kids.
Is your son married?
No, but he'll have a miserable time as well. He's not exempt from what other people go through. Are you kidding? All people have a good amount of stupidity in them. My son is no exception. So listen, since, good, thank you. Well, thank you for sticking around and listening to my rants for the past 16 weeks. And of course, thank you to Chris, and thank you for having Chris. I hope you enjoyed the class a little. If any of you want a letter of recommendation, just send me an email. And if I like you, I'll write you one. Remember, get done with Laney quickly. and get yourself to a really good 4-year school. And don't worry about being in debt. It'll pay itself off. If you're young, take advantage. Don't stick around here for too long. If you have work that needs to be submitted, just turn them in. You're always welcome to come to my classes and just sit. I'm here this summer, 6 to 9, Monday through Wednesday. Come by if your time allows. If I have said anything that you felt to be offensive, insulting, well, what can I say? Grow a thicker skin. Of course, I also forgive you for yawning and sleeping and asking silly questions and not paying attention. So things have a tendency of balancing themselves out. So, thank you. Take care. If I don't see you, have a great life, have a great summer. Tell your parents, especially your parents, I said hello. Yeah. Chris, if I don't see you.
It's summertime, right?
Yeah, but you know, Chris is a different man now. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You take care of yourself. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just turn in the assignment this Sunday, right? For the fourth assignment.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Chris. See you.
I want to ask if you're going to be here anytime next week.
I won't be here.
No. So, like, no office.
Unfortunately. Do send me an email if I'm here. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
I was mainly concerned about my grade, because it's at like a 54, and like I'm taking calculus 3 and organic chemistry, so it's like it's like very final.
Just make sure you turn in. If I mention to you that like your file can't open or won't open, just resend it to me. Okay? Thank you.
Is it too late to ask for an extension?
Why do you need an extension? Just give me what you have. Don't worry. Just give me what you have.
Thank you.
So,
Chris.
I was interested in using your history of religion as a continuation